Hello, everyone. Welcome to video number 5 of the Biodigital Convergence featuring Sabrina Wallace and Juxtaposition, where we're going to discuss the presentation and deployment of the 7G technology. I wanted to call the show The Evolution of 5G, 6G into 7G. We decided just to cut to the chase and let everybody know that 7G technology exists and has existed for many years, not only in theory, but in reality. And it's a souped up version of 6G, which the media didn't mention. But then that doesn't surprise you, does it? I mean, the media never mentions anything to do with what's going on in our world. They're busy with the matrix of mendacity, balderdash, and poppycock. And that's the only reason why people would be interested in the Sabrina Wallace Energy channel or the Juxtaposition channel, is that they have a disdain for poppycock and balderdash and mendacity, and they would rather just cut to the chase and get to the need to know information that is not available through Geraldo or Rachel Madcow or Anderson Cooper or any one of the presenters that appear on cable television. And that would include Alex Jones and Joe Rogan and E. Michael Jones and Victor Davis Hanson and anyone associated with think tanks. You come to our channel if you want to get the facts. So we're going to talk about terahertz bandwidth. We're going to talk about documents that you too can go look at the IEEE and the International Telecommunications Union in Geneva, the IEEE in New York City, and also in New Jersey. We're going to talk about the state of affairs having to do with the biodigital convergence using mesh network, smart dust, ubiquitous, inescapable 7G technologies known as key enabling technology 7G. Sabrina, over to you.
Well, hello there and welcome back. Originally, when the 7G discussion has arisen on the channel, we've gotten a lot of back and forth because the 6G is brand new to a lot of people. I would like to talk about the terahertz band first, if that's all right, sir. The terahertz is kind of this mysterious band for spectroscopy and Raman spectroscopy in particular, in which in between your infrared and your microwave and your optical, we often hear about visible light communication that's in the optical range, which is kind of, not fully, but kind of EMP proof. Whereas over here with the infrared, we have the microwave. Just like it sounds, microwave like your microwave, but we also use the microwave for bandwidth and sending signals, not just for overheating or changing the congruence of the wave. Okay, so in the terahertz radiation, we needed a way to fill the gap in between all that optical signal so that we could expand the amount of data networks that we could run over visible light communication. And we had to have a way to balance that with the heat, the thermal dynamics of infrared, as well as microwave, in the way that we affect the cells in your body. And you'll often find there are these new, they'll call them quantum healing wands. They use the terahertz radiation because the terahertz is right in between your optical and your microwave.
But Sabrina, delineate and distinguish the difference between 5G energy system versus 6G terahertz. Is a terahertz at least 1,000 times faster millimeter wave technology? What's the difference between a 5G weapon system and a 6G weapon? I'm calling it what it is. These are weapon systems. They're not communication systems. I mean, they are and they aren't. They're weapons. They're electronic warfare weapons. So what's the difference between 5G electronic frequency versus 6G?
The millimeter wave technology, technically it was there within the 5G, meaning it was accessible. But your 5G, this is where I'm going to go to gigabits per second to try to help folks understand in a more simplified way. The maximum amount of bandwidth was only 20 gigabits in your 5G. So even though I could get my precision of all these different signals narrowed down with the millimeter wave, and even though I could get enough power, I was limited by how many times I could aim, so to speak. Okay. But with the 6G, you got terabits. That's a huge jump because you got gigabits, then your terabits per second. And let me just bring this up so I say it right. Per there. Yeah, I'm right. Terabits per second, 1 trillion bits per second
Versus what?
versus your gigabits per second, which is, I think, yeah, it's a million.
Okay.
So
So
we
yeah,
went
it's a
from a
big
million
leap.
to a trillion. Yeah.
Okay, a million to a trillion. I'm not
Let
even
me
sure
double
what that
check, not
is.
a million. I'm sorry, a billion. Yeah,
A
megabits is
billion. A billion to a
1,000.
trillion. A
Kilobits
thousand.
is a million.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's 1,000
gigabits.
times, 1,000 times more power in terms of architecture. 1,000 times bigger.
And but the important part in networking and bandwidth isn't just the speed. It's the fact that we open up the lanes, kind of like when you're driving on a busy road
That's why I said
and
1,000 times bigger,
Yep,
wider, bigger scope, bigger
correct.
architecture, greater
Yep,
coverage, greater coverage, 1,000 times greater coverage.
that's right.
All right. Then what about 7G? What's the difference between 7G and 6G?
Mm.
I know
Well,
they brag about lower latency. Lower latency means less lag. But in this world, I don't see a lot of lag in 5G or 6G, so I don't know what lag is. And also inescapable and ubiquitous, which could explain why we have the mesh, smart dust, metamaterials saturating my
well,
town,
oh, sorry.
because it
Yes.
seems like they work together to create an internet of everything. Is that using these terahertz millimeter waves and biosensors that are everywhere in our gardens, weeds, parks, air, and it lingers. That goodbye blue skies, hello techno enslavement.
So with the 5G, we got a bigger speed. And as you mentioned, with the 6G, we have more spread out access. That's
Right.
called the mesh networking. The
Okay.
real upgrade to the 7G is not even technically measured anymore in your gigabits to terabits. The reason for that is the dynamic of not only being able to aim and fire, but something called ubiquitous computing, meaning all the time and everywhere.
Right.
And we talk about this on the channel a lot because it's part of the mesh networking. But ubiquitous computing refers to embedding information processing and network communication into everyday human environments to continuously listen, watch, and provide services, information, and communication. This means that your smart fridge or your smart side meter on the side of your house or anything else around you, your iPad, your laptop, it doesn't matter. It's all listening. Then they add the 6G open bandwidth, more ways to aim precisely, and maintain monitoring. Now, with any telemetry, I have to have a consistent monitoring in order to accurately aim and then fire an electrical signal. This is the biggest change with the 7G is not only the CubeSat, but what they are calling the Internet of Space Things. This is
Right.
your ubiquitous computing and the pervasive computing on what they call fog and edge flare. It's like the edges for now in today's language, they call it the fog and the edge flare, like it's just reaching out. But according to the IEEE, we've got 7G since 2019 in test beds in Norway, South Korea,
Right.
Japan. And the reason for that, again, because the technology doesn't stop, it continues to advance and pull through because otherwise, how can they continue building standards? And the 7G differentiation, in order to enable all that ubiquitous embedded Internet of Everything and your cognitive C40 city, sir. Your cognitive city has to be able to remember your questions and your memories. Now we're into the AI, and that your little AI helper that follows you everywhere you go is a mirror image in an artificial neural network of your own neurons. They have this. That is your 7G full on. Right now is still allegedly the very slow 6G metamaterial body to body type of mesh networking. But as those security analysts that came out a couple weeks ago kept saying, it is, as you said, inescapable. Less than 1% planet wide will find a way away from the ubiquitous computing, the mirror image of all your brain's neurons in an underground database, because that's really what we're dealing with here, unfortunately.
That's right. In the Mormon LDS Church, 20 miles south of Salt Lake City, is an underground database who works for DARPA of the Department of War, Department of Defense. And there are 20,000 residents of the town. I forgot the name of it. Just go to a map, go 20 miles south of Salt Lake City, and you will find DARPA's database for the biodigital convergence run by Mormon LDS cult members as part of a Masonic military cult that is DARPA. All right, so there you go. What else can I say? Which really is Swiss Bank Authority, Geneva, Switzerland. So who came up with this terminology, human activity recognition radar? What perverted mind could come up with this string of words? Human activity radar, human activity recognition radar. Where did that come from, Sabrina?
Har. It comes from, har. HAR comes from delineating between the Internet of Bodies and the Internet of Things for the digital twins several years ago, and bringing it all into the Internet of Everything. Well, first, they wanted to know the difference between what a human is doing and what a robot is doing in preparation for being able to, as we just discussed, manage all these signals with the machine learning and the AI. So human activity recognition radar then bloomed and blossomed into passive filters on your Fitbits and your Aura Rings and your Sensate that you bought for your own personal health that are now reporting on you while watching you sleep, no different than your smart fridge watching you eat, feeding the algorithm of your digital twin.
My uncle called that volunteering for cancer. Like, why would you help? Why would you do something that's going to be harmful? Oh, I want to get a heart rate monitor, which I had for 30 years, which I don't use anymore. Why would you get a Fitbit? So you can report your telemetry data to the authorities and they can decide how excited you should be. And they can electroshock treatment you if they feel the need to. Mm-hmm. No one's going to ask for your informed consent. You've given up your consent. You've given it up. You surrendered your freedom. You have given no informed consent. You're just being hooked up to a telemetry system.
Not only that, but there is a joke we make on the channel because I'd like to read the definition briefly. Yeah. Radar-based human activity recognition, HAR, using radar that is supposed to be for what? When I say radar,
military.
Or the weather, right? I'm just going to watch the news, maybe.
Yeah, right. Well, the weather is one of the Internet of everythings. It's not only humans and kitty cats and cows, it's the weather. They can make it rain. They can make it. Today is going to be 130 degrees in Mojave Desert off Highway 395 in China Lake. 130 degrees Fahrenheit. That's perfectly normal. That's a new record, by the way. And in Las Vegas today, I think it's going to be 120 degrees in Las Vegas, Nevada, where all the casinos are. I've raced motorcycles and I've raced bicycles in 113 degrees. Like at least a dozen times. I can't even believe I did that.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've also been there when people had heart attacks who parked next to me and died on the racetrack. Older people, master's degree people, master's level athletes who were in great shape, who then I had to pack up their truck and drive it to the Round Table Pizza so that their widow could come and fetch it later after she had gone ahead to the hospital with her dead husband, which she was under the delusion that they were going to resuscitate him, which did. Anyway, so it's just generally not a good idea to exercise in 120 degrees or 113 degrees or 130 degrees. It's just not a good idea. But it's happening more and more. And I believe that the mesh network can make hot places hotter. They can make cold places colder. And using human activity recognition radar can delete you as a node on the network if they want to.
Yeah, the radar-based human activity recognition provides a non-contact method for many scenarios. This is the formal definition. What you said about no consent.
And
no non-contact.
Who wrote this? Who wrote this? What's the source of this?
The Sensor Journal for Human Radar Sensors,
Biosensors. Oh, they have a journal? Is it part of the IEEE?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the Institute for Electronics, Electrical Engineers.
I have 3 articles, but I'll just stick to the IEEE and the MDPI sensor journals. And on the IEEE.
So we're not making this stuff up, people. We're reading things that are 4, 5, 6, 10 years old regarding 7G mesh network technology, terahertz. And we are not just conjuring it up. This isn't YouTube. If you want to learn about condensation trails, which they put a boilerplate over all videos on YouTube that says anything to do with chemtrails, and YouTube denies the existence of chemtrails, despite the fact that they've been going on for 80 years, all the way back to the 1940. During in the South Pacific and Vietnam War, they had crimson mist. Crimson mist is about dumping toxic waste out of military planes. During World War II in the 1940s, we had crimson mist. Then later, people talk about Rwanda in Africa being part of crimson mist. But yeah, but that was 30 years after they'd already done it in the South Pacific. And they're doing it today in 2024, only we don't call it crimson mist. We call it the aluminum gray sky, that you have no blue sky anymore. You have mesh network sky. Cognitive electronic warfare, is that part of human activity recognition radar, which is CEW, Q, cognitive electronic warfare? Is that synonymous with human activity recognition radar?
Well, the databases that are utilized by both feed into one another. And I did find the name of the conference for both, actually, which is
what's that?
A 2022 IEEE International Conference on Electronics, Information, and Communication. And of course, it's an acronym, ICE-IC. Cognitive.
Well, we were in the height of COVID then. So did they have to wear face diaper, satanic ritual masks at that conference? Was it in Las Vegas, or how did they take a slow boat to China to get to that conference?
It was in Korea.
Okay, so they were probably wearing face diapers over there.
I just want to read the first sentence of that. Human activity recognition, HAR, has found many applications in several disciplines, such as smart home and elderly health care units. One of the major one of the major components of my channel is that college textbook, which is a set of symposiums talking about the way we manage health care for our elderly. And that was how I found human activity recognition, because they don't even go into the room of our loved one. They send the drugs wirelessly. This was really difficult for me, because I would never want that done on someone. And as I was reading through the literature, it was very obvious. They didn't ask anyone's permission. They were not telling anybody anything. Well, that means that if I have someone that I love in trusted care and they just pass away, I am never thinking anything else unless I find bed sores or a physical cause. What if it's wireless? Well, how easy is that for them? This plausible deniability function of a war product, which is what electronic warfare is. To put that in the medical industry with no lawfare, no recourse, and no admission, with their entire mission being, well, you acquiesced, so that is our permission. No, This should have been talked about 30, 60 years ago.
No,
But as
there's
we all
no
know,
informed consent.
there
There's
will
no
be
consent.
there's no consent. Yes, sir. So
And
cognitive
and
electronic warfare.
the idea of using, adult supervised living, that's the Trojan horse. Using a hospital, using a old folks home, that's not their intention. They're using them as beta tests and the cover of the Trojan horse, because they're deploying it in all ages, children, elementary schools, your home, your playground, your park, your plaza, your piazzas. You're talking about cross-domain synthetic biology delivered, as a what's called the human activity recognition radar. Cognitive electronic warfare is being deployed for all living creatures, from cows to kitty cats to doggies to goats to billy goats to sheep to humans. And humans are not going to be treated like farm animals at a feedlot, because it's got nothing to do with old folks' homes. They're going to euthanize those people. They don't care about making you better at a hospital. That's a beta test research facility for weapons. That's what they've turned Medicare into, a paid by coding, a paint by numbers weapon system that enriches the doctors and the hospital administrators based on what weapon system pays best. And they're testing out, on dummies, helpless dummies that go to the hospital. That's installing stents is the solution for blood clots. Blood clots are mostly caused by aluminum and radiomagnetic frequency clotting your blood. So I create the problem, and a stent's not going to solve that. A stent's not going to solve that. Stent's going to make a plastic tube go around the block. Then it's going to reclot again. And you're going to pay a bunch of doctors to open your heart, open up your chest for, it's just a futile exercise in synthetic biology. Anyway,
In the update to the human recognition or activity recognition radar isn't exactly an update, but there was a Ginkgo Bioworks video floating around from September 2023 that spoke openly with a financial lady on one of those shows that the investors watch about
right.
DNA radar. So I went back on the channel. Now you can watch Bio Radar to catch yourself up with the data that I've already put out there, as well as the new stuff. And I'll be doing more of that today, because people definitely were not prepared, unless you've been to my channel when the guy said, oh yeah, we have DNA radar. And of course we can't get the weather right, but we can get your DNA radar going.
No, they've never covered military planes dumping pollution over our city for 2 years. I have zero confidence in your meteorologist, weatherman. They're reading a script. They have no idea. Why don't you go outside the studio and look up, dummy? All right. So anyway, there's a paper, and we will provide a link below, from the Institute, EEE, Electronics, Electrical Engineering Institute in New York City. And it's a lot of digits. Journal, volume number 8, was produced and published in January 2020. So I'm talking 4 years ago. It's an over 4-year-old document that discusses 6G, 7G as the hub for the mesh network system. And they have orbited 360 degrees around the hub. At the center is 6G, 7G deployed systems, which is terahertz. Millimeter waves, they're going to run these 11 programs. So let me run them off, or rattle them off quick. Terahertz band communications are going to run on 6 and 7G technology. Pervasive artificial intelligence is going to be run off 6 and 7G. Internet of nano things. Network automation, it has an acronym, NFV. I don't even know what that means. Sounds bad. Then they're going to have the Internet of Bio Nano Things is going to run off 6 and 7G. Then they have reconfigurable front end dynamic spectrum sharing system is going to run off 6 and 7G. Reconfigurable intelligence surfaces, like the skin surface on your body. Surfaces, bio, sensor, skin to skin, under the skin sensors. It's going to run off 6 and 7G. Then we have the Internet of Space Things, which includes CubeSats and UAVs. UAVs are drones, unmanned aerial vehicles. Then they're going to run, that's the drone over your home. Then we're going to have ambient backscatter communications. I have no idea what that means. Sounds bad. Then we have cell-free massive MIMO, acronym MIMO. I forgot what it meant. It's having to do with magnetic frequency. Cell-free massive MIMO communications. Then finally, we're going to have quantum communications, which means big. Quantum means expansive and big, which is what 7G is. 7G is the badass techno enslavement system. It's inescapable. It's ubiquitous. It's ubiquitous and it's inescapable. That's 7G. I believe that's fully deployed in most cities. I believe that's in New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco Bay Area. I believe it's in Seattle. I believe it's in Portland. I believe it's in Vancouver, British Columbia. I believe it's in Montreal and Toronto, Canada. And I believe it's in Paris, France, Milan, Rome, Berlin. It's probably not in Liechtenstein. I don't think they've deployed it in Liechtenstein, which is a sovereign nation within Switzerland, which is running the 7G show here. Anyway, what I'm saying is that they like to exempt themselves from their own battlefields. Switzerland never gets bloody, and yet they finance every war. How is it possible that you could have World War I and World War II and not a single Swiss person gets nicked? And they're right. If you look at a map, they're right in the middle of the battlefields. The battlefields are in all directions, and yet there they are partying like it's 1999. Anyway, that's our thesis for today. Our supposition is that 7G is already here. Are there places on Earth where 7G doesn't exist? Yeah, maybe Atherton, Geneva, Switzerland, Bern, Liechtenstein. You know, those could be like safe zones for 7G. But as far as where I'm coming to you from, which is District 12 of the Hunger Games, North Bay, San Francisco, it's here already. It's here already. And my neighbors are more augmented than a box of rocks. Okay? Am I making myself clear? All right. Any final words, Sabrina, Wallace? I think we've beat this. Beat this is a dead horse. So beat it enough.
It's a dead Trojan horse, sir. It's already
a Trojan horse. It's a straw dog. It's a straw dog Trojan horse, right? All right. Carry us out, and we'll see you on the other side for this is video number 5. So final words, Sabrina.
My final word is that your body is the node on the network. All this talk about 5G towers in these networks, it's peer-to-peer, and your NFV is network function virtualization. Why does that matter? Because peer-to-peer on a mesh network, those air molecules can just follow you around. The network itself becomes virtual so that it can be controlled. Now that 5G tower is way over there with a bunch of bigger signals that have to be transduced and messed with. That's that front back thing you mentioned too. And the MIMO, multi-input, multi-output, and the MIMO. But none of that is going to be able to get to you in time if you already can feel your own body, which is why on our channel, the biggest thing we go over is this is human anatomy. The human biofield is on the National Institute of Health. It's your body. You should know about this because you're a human. And if your anatomy is going to be tethered to a machine, you should have a choice. And they've already taken that as far as I can tell. So keep yourself in a place of authenticity. Stay aware, adapt. Don't be afraid to be wrong. Keep reading and learning. You will find your way.
All right. There won't be any pop quizzes today, but there may be next time when we do video number 6. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to your comments below. Thanks, Sabrina. We'll see you on the other side. Bye now.